Okay, everybody, I show it at 5 o'clock, so we'll get started on the 5 p.m. Tropical Storm Nicholas briefing. What has changed over the past several hours is that the center of Nicholas remains very disorganized. The track continues to shift east, and so I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. This is the last scheduled weather webinar briefing that our office is going to be doing, most likely, unless there's some significant changes overnight. But I think this will probably be it for the webinar briefings. We still may have to do some situation reports tomorrow, but it'll actually just kind of have to wait and see what Nicholas does overnight and where it goes from there. A little bit about the logistics of how we do these webinars. Everybody's on mute right now. So at the very end, I will probably open it up to questions, and then you can self-unmute yourself at that point. If you'd like to ask questions, there's actually a small little questions chat feature on GoToWebinar that go ahead and just type those questions in too, and I can answer those as well. So, and if you are just using the phone audio, *6 will mute and unmute you. So we'll go over the quick weather briefing. We'll then allow for some questions, and then at the very end, if there's any TDEM district coordinators on that would like to add some discussion, then they will be able to do that as well. So the purpose of this briefing is for situational awareness. We are focusing on South Central Texas and the counties of the Austin-San Antonio National Weather Service jurisdiction. So just understand that, and that we will focus only on life safety and immediate decision support needs. So what's going on right now? The overview: Tropical Storm Nicholas will continue to move north and is expected to make landfall along the middle Texas coast this evening and then move through southeast Texas on Tuesday. There still remains a small potential for tropical storm force gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour over DeWitt, Fayette, and Lavaca counties, and that is where we still have a tropical storm watch in effect. The risk for locally heavy rainfall is decreasing, but still some rainfall amounts of 1 to 3 inches with some isolated higher totals are still possible, mainly across Lavaca and Fayette counties, which could lead to minor flooding. And those are obviously counties closest, if you will, probably to the actual track of what Nicholas moves inland. But confidence is increasing that South Central Texas will see minimal impacts from this tropical storm, hour by hour and minute by minute, as the system becomes still disorganized and still remains off to the east. That just allows us to remain drier and drier. So here's what we had latest on the 4 p.m. advisory that just came out. They did increase winds to 65 miles per hour. You can see the position there on the map, and you can see that most of the coast is still under tropical storm warnings. They were able to drop some of those warnings down on the lower South Texas coast with this advisory. But you can still see that as it moves inland, it is expected to then kind of shift east and cross Louisiana. They mentioned on the conference calls today that the center of Nicholas is really hard to find. There's been several small-scale circulations, and they all last for about an hour, and then they go away. So there's a broad mid and upper level circulation, which they're kind of tracking, but overall, it's still disorganized. And I'll show you that on satellite images. It will continue to move north-northeast until it makes landfall sometime this evening or later tonight, maybe a little bit past midnight. Kind of near Matagorda, probably somewhere between Port O'Connor and Matagorda, give or take, but basically the middle/upper Texas coast. And it still could approach hurricane strength. It doesn't have too much more to go, 10 more miles per hour, and it would actually become a hurricane. So if there's a big enough cluster of thunderstorms that develop, it actually could force the wind speeds to increase just a bit. And so not out of the question that it could become a Cat 1 hurricane as it makes landfall, probably within 12 hours. These are our latest counties still under watches. Again, we had initially, earlier today, we had dropped Gonzales and Karnes County, but DeWitt, Lavaca, and Fayette County still remain under tropical storm watches. I will be honest, we are right on the fence. The probabilities are fairly low, but because it hasn't made landfall yet, and because it's been quite a challenge just from a forecast standpoint with the system, we're kind of keeping the watches up for now. But if this trend continues, later tonight, we may be able to just literally drop another couple of counties out, or literally drop all of our counties out of the watch as it as it looks as of right now that the track should be far enough east that we're just not going to have a lot of impacts. Here's one of the latest satellite views I just took a couple of minutes ago and pasted it on the presentation. You can see the big cluster of storms kind of right near or just off the Texas coast. I'll show you that on radar here in a second. So they're forming mainly north of the center of the storm, which isn't very healthy for the tropical system. But again, some strengthening is still possible before landfall. Over here in this portion of Texas where we are, there's actually quite a bit of dry air aloft in the mid-levels, and that's not allowing for much at all to develop inland. All the rain has been primarily right along the coast and offshore. Here's an image of the Corpus Christi radar. I kind of put a little icon there of where the hurricane center is showing the center of the system. So you can see that there's not a lot of convection or storms around the center at all. It remains all well off to the north and to the northeast. There is a broad spin out here if you look at a looping radar, but for the most part, it doesn't have really good organization right now. But again, there are a lot of storms off to the northeast, and some of these showers and storms, again, this evening, still could kind of rotate, counterclockwise around the system and kind of move inland. But again, the rest of the day today, they haven't been making it much. But there is still that possibility that some locally heavy rain could still occur because of that, even as far as Cuero and Hallettsville and Shiner and even up into Fayette County. These are the windstorm speed probabilities, tropical storm wind speed probabilities. And again, middle to upper Texas coast are where the highest probabilities are. That's where the highest risk is to see tropical storm force winds. For the coastal counties in south central Texas, including, like I said, Gonzales and Fayette and Lavaca, DeWitt counties, the probabilities continue to trend down. And like I said, that's probably why I wouldn't be surprised for us to at least take maybe a few more counties or all of them out at our next advisory time, which would be at the 9 to 10 o'clock time frame later tonight. Confidence is increasing that most of the wind packs will be along the coast or off the coast. If any tropical storm wind gusts are able to make it inland into the coastal plains this evening, overnight, it would happen, as the system is probably making landfall. And if there's any sort of stronger convection, stronger storms near that center, that's probably where those gusts would occur. So don't look for any tropical storm force wind gusts here in the next few hours across our watch counties. But if it would occur, it'd occur later tonight as it makes landfall. So again, key takeaways for the system: tropical storm Nicholas will continue to move north and expected to make landfall along the middle Texas coast this evening, and then move southeast. Then move through southeast Texas on Tuesday. Again, small potential for some tropical storm force gusts still over DeWitt, Fayette, and Lavaca counties, but those chances are dwindling very, very quickly. The risk for locally heavy rainfall is also decreasing, but amounts of 1 to 3 inches with some higher totals are possible, especially across Lavaca and Fayette counties. The rest of the area, like the I-35 corridor, Austin, San Antonio, in through Guadalupe County and Bastrop, Lee counties, maybe a quarter to a half inch at best, probably over the next couple of days. So just don't look for a lot of rainfall across most of our area because of this. And again, confidence is increasing. And in fact, the continued shift of the track to the east has led to higher confidence that the impacts for South Central Texas are going to be minimal. So with that, again, this is the last scheduled webinar that we have for the event as of right now. So if you have any questions, you can type them into the questions area, or I will open up all the mics right now that you can self-unmute yourself by typically clicking on the little microphone icon, and it should turn green, and then you should be able to speak. So does anybody have any questions?